Motion to excuse Councilman Lake.
Second.
We have a motion to excuse Councilperson Lake by Logsdon, a second by Cassidy. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Manel,
Yes.
Cassidy,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Mendoza,
Yes.
Logsdon.
Yes.
Councilperson Lake is excused. We have the minutes of the previous meeting.
I do have a correction under the Public Affairs Committee report to strike out what's currently written and replace it with, no report, meetings will be scheduled on a needed basis.
Make a motion to approve the revised minutes.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the minutes as revised by Logsdon, a second by Manel. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Manel,
Yes.
Cassidy,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Mendoza,
Yes.
Logsdon.
Yes.
You have any communications this evening?
No, I do not.
We'll go into reports of committees. Finance Committee.
Finance Committee met this evening with the new finance director who's been on the job for 1 week. Gave a very thorough presentation as he is adjusting to the position and learning the job.
Thank you. Public Affairs Committee.
Nothing new to report.
Law and Ordinance Committee.
Law and Ordinance unfortunately wasn't able to meet because we didn't have a quorum this evening. So given that there's no new business at this time, we're going to just wait to be determined when the next meeting will happen. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go into report of officers. Safety Service Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before council tonight is an appropriations legislation. I would just briefly explain that. There's $34,000 that's appropriated from unappropriated funds in the general fund. It's for outfitting of our police cruisers. This is from 2022 when our cruisers got involved in an accident, and that insurance check actually went into the general fund instead of going back into this police fund to fund those cruisers. And so the outfitting was short, and this is to remedy that shortage in the outfitting of those cruisers. And then the $50,000 from unappropriated funds into the stormwater fund, that was currently in the water fund. It's for a Reservoir 4 project, and that project's supposed to come out of stormwater. So they're just correcting that, taking it out of the water fund and putting it into the stormwater, where the project's meant to be. And that's part of our long-term control plan. And then I would request the executive session for collective bargaining matters with business to follow.
And I correct in remembering that the appropriations need to be passed by an emergency tonight.
I don't believe there's enough. I
Oh,
don't
okay.
believe there's enough council members to pass that by emergency really this evening.
Right.
But I still wanted to give members of council the explanation as to what those funds were for.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Nothing further.
Thank you. Director of Law.
Thank you. As we just said, we don't have enough to pass the appropriations by an emergency tonight, as we usually do, so we'll just have that as a first reading. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Do we have enough members to go into executive session?
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. Director of Finance.
Really nothing to report except that the December 31st audited financial statements have been posted to the Auditor of State website, so they are available for your viewing as well as the public viewing.
Okay.
All right, at this time, we will move into the public portion of the meeting. We have 2 people that requested to speak this evening. We do ask that you make your comments as brief as possible, but the floor will be yours. And the first person up tonight is Deb Tyson.
I'm Deb Tyson. I've signed in 800 Woodward Avenue, Lot 9. I have a couple different parts of business. One, since Law and Order couldn't meet tonight, I do want to address there was an accident here in Fostoria Sunday that involved one-sided parking streets on College Avenue and Union Street. And it's close to some other streets, so there's the same thing going on. And I had visited one of the residents on one of the other streets, and they said, yeah, it's a problem when people come around the corner and there's these streets like that, somebody parked at the end, and if they're not familiar, they hit the car. So I'm not quite sure exactly what's going on, but I thought somebody might want to look into it. The reason I asked for time was I am going to be speaking with Hancock County since the landfill has purchased property that touches Hancock County now. And I don't know what their idea is. I'm not waiting on that. I'm letting Hancock County know that they could be approaching them. And I've already reached out, and I'm supposed to speak in November before them. And I also put in a testimony for the Senate bill, since I couldn't be there, and it's the same thing. I mentioned about how they expanded purchasing property, and while our city council and our town does great, and so does our health department, there's some things we might not be able to have control over, and I'm just reaching out to see who can help, because we do need a little bit of help in these areas. And I appreciate this time. I also would like to reach out to the railroad, CSX especially, because they are the ones that are transporting the out-of-state trash. But I would need a little help to figure out who I need to talk to. I got to be on the National Railroad Board, which is not open to the public. And therefore, I feel that I could maybe speak to them. So if anybody has any ideas, I'm more than willing to listen and help out wherever I can and do my civic duty.
Thank you very
And
much.
that's it. Thank you.
I've got a question.
Oh.
Have you seen a land transfer from Hancock County to Sunny Farms?
I seen the map.
And Sunny Farms is listed as an owner of property in Hancock County?
But I don't know, I didn't see a certified stamp. That was where my issue was.
Because I tried to look for land transfers and I couldn't find any.
Well, I had the map, I can't find it now, I tried to look it up, but I had the map, and it touches into Hancock County. The Hancock County Health Commissioner was told their environmental secretary to put me on the agendas. I am not gonna be here after this meeting, I'm going to Vegas, and so they're having a meeting without me to start the ball rolling. In November, I speak before them. And if Mr. Nutter shows up, or anybody from Lynn shows up down there, they've already been warned, and they're gonna have plenty of questions, and they're looking into the same thing you were. I would be happy, but that was my thing. I wanted to know if it was, had a stamp on it and it was real.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Anything else? I didn't mean to run away. I just know your time's valuable. Thank you.
The next person that requested time to speak was Joe Filliater. The floor is yours.
Sorry about that, I should put it on here first. Good evening. My name is Jill Filliater, 402 West Culbertson Street. Good evening, members of council, Director of Law, Safety Service Director, the new Director of Finance, and the citizens of Fostoria present in the audience. I've asked to be put on the agenda for follow-up on some of my concerns which I had brought forward to this council floor over the past year and a half. I've tried to follow the proper channel, speaking to my ward rep, other council members, and I appreciate those who listen to my concerns. I also had the opportunity to speak with the Safety Service Director last week, who took the time to answer some of my questions that I had. I gave you guys a packet in July, and so I'm going to be reviewing over those for the follow-up questions I have. In section 1 of that packet, I'm still awaiting the follow-up regarding requests for potential events for public at the parks. Primarily Foundation and Portage were the ones I mentioned. I was looking at the possibility of being able to have music events at Wainwright that might incorporate with alcohol, for wine in Portage Park and for music guitar fest kind of concepts for the foundation. I do know that the current charter has it being available to our use through the Safety Service Director as it reads now. And it does say that as long as Foundation Park is no longer under lease, which it was vacated in 2021, it's only a thing of understanding now. So the YMCA no longer has the lease for it. It then reverts back to Park and Rec Committee's guys. So I would like to see if we could get that going back on. And during that time when I was trying to research, I am requesting to establish the Park and Rec Committee. Confirmed by my ward representative, Amy Mendoza, I did not have the most current charter update, and she graciously supplied it for me after she read my report that I submitted in July. During the October 6, 2020 council meeting, the Charter Review Committee was formed as a requirement for the charter, and the group completed their review at the end of 2020. At that time, there were no changes made to the Park and Recs Committee. There was no recommendation. The Park and Rec Charter was unchanged at that time until April 19, 2022, where the council meeting had the third reading of ordinance number 2022-25, entitled Composition, which read and approved amending the committee members for Park and Rec. Per the new ordinance, document section 3, that in order to preserve the public peace, health, safety, and welfare of the city of Fostoria and its inhabitants, this measure shall take effect at the earliest time allowable by law, for the reason that this ordinance is necessary for the inhabitants of the city of Fostoria. I've asked about status. I've asked if I could be part of that, because that was when I first came here. I'm very into arts, very into parks. And a year later, it's still not being addressed. I had the opportunity to speak with the mayor. He is going to not go forward with it until the new mayor is appointed. So we will go another 3 months until, so who is currently making these decisions for the city in the interim in regards to Park and Rec? I also then asked to review our charter and to confirm where the funds are being collected for the provision under section I-83.012 are located. In the report, I gave you guys information regarding the permanent levy monies that have to stay within the guise of the city and the different amounts. I could not locate and still cannot locate where those $30,000 a year Park and Rec money is going. There's no line item, there's nothing. So that prompted me to look a little bit further into that system. And based on what I'm finding, I still can't confirm where the money's going. I can confirm that there is currently no Park and Rec Committee who by charter rule is responsible for the parks as well as the municipal pool. So that is a concern that I have. In the course of doing my research, I also came across an issue at Portage Park. In Portage Park in 2014, the Ohio EPA asked the Ohio Department of Health to complete an assessment of Portage Park dump due to some concerns that were voiced. The report identified 2 areas of concern for public health hazards with recommendations. The city is unable to locate any documentation that the recommendations were completed and soil testing done to show corrective action. As I stated to the mayor, my concern is how are we having our athletes running cross-country through this park, through that area, and having multi-event cross-country invitationals in an area that in 2014 shows a risk to public health. Even though the report states it's a low risk, but further testing would be needed, I do not see where any of that has been done yet. So I did ask if he could give me information. Unfortunately, he's unable to find any more information. I did actually get to speak with the Safety Service Director, who confirms they cannot locate any other documentation that followed up occurred. He did, however, give me a report for 2020, which I thought was very nice of him, in regards to the arrangement that was made between the holding company for Autolite, the city of Fostoria, in regards to our spark plug issue that I say that they had an issue with. That was addressed with the EPA in 2020, and there is an agreement to have that done. I don't know anything more about it, but at least we see it on paper that there is a program plan for that to be addressed. So I'm still looking for the documentation for the Park and Rec issue, and we'll wait and see if we can find anything. Based on we can't find anything about the Portage Park issue, I did take a look at the assessment for the Ohio Health. I did make a phone call and called the assessor person. They gave me to the Ohio EPA, who gave me to their records department. That's where it's at. I know I followed the proper chain, so it's in there waiting to see if they can find the documentation. If not, their recommendation is that I to file a concern so that they can get somebody out there to do that testing to see what happens. Everybody understands with dumps. What happens is erosion occurs, and if you don't address those issues I'm dating myself, I was here when it was made into the park. Over the past 30 years, you're going to have issues that you might have to put some more dirt down, or you might have to do some kind of mitigation, especially being that it was at one point the dump. So then again, that's what I'm saying, that's my concern on that part. Finally, what we're looking at, my last thing that I want to discuss is, we're talking about our funds. Currently, the city is having Vision 2020, a nonprofit with no accountability to the city of Fostoria, gathering monies being raised for the splash pad. The splash pad is being located on the municipal pool property, which is under the Parks and Rec Committee oversight. Additionally, I'm having difficulty locating the city budget reports. The alleged over $700,000 over the past few years that has been gathered for the Foundation Park through the YMCA and the Greater Fostoria Community Foundation. It was in an article that I read, but I don't see a line item where it talks about that money being used, so I don't know where that money went. As we all know, the FEDC, Chamber of Commerce, Tourism, and the Community Improvement Corps and Vision 2020 are private nonprofits. These groups are not part of the city of Fostoria. I, like many other citizens of Fostoria, thought they were part of the city and was surprised to find out that these groups, as well as the Market Square in downtown Fostoria, was not affiliated with the city of Fostoria. Looking at the financial report entitled City of Fostoria Notes to the Base Financial Statements of the Year ending December 31st, 2022, how is the city entrusting Vision 2020 with hundreds of thousands of dollars without having this nonprofit have some accountability to the city of Fostoria for these funds? Now, if the council feels that we need to move these park and rec monies away from the charter guidelines, then it just needs to be done properly. The citizens need to be made aware. A proposed change to the charter be presented and put on the ballot in May for the city to vote on. And the city creates some sort of accountability with whatever or whomever private partnership is formed. And then my final topic for the day is in regards to the amount of emergency reads for the city of Fostoria. In 2022, there were 82 ordinance resolutions completed. I could not locate 33, 34, and 35 in the minutes. I couldn't find the numbers. So my analysis is based only on the 79 that I confirmed. Of the 79 ordinances, 47 were approved under emergency read, or 59%. Of the 47 ordinances, 15 were based on the same ordinance, 2021-68, which is the budget. And the need to move the funds was the main key topic for that one. And I didn't even catch it on. We were doing them so quickly and you do them every meeting. I did not realize it until I actually looked at it. 31% of those emergency reads for the year of 2022 are coming in as an emergency for moving monies around. The amount of emergency reads is exorbitant and concerning. An occasional emergency read is anticipated. What process changes need to occur to reduce these numbers? In closing, I feel each and every one of you have the needs of Fostoria and the citizens of Fostoria in the forefront of your minds. But as an appointed or elected official, you swore an oath to affirm and support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Ohio, and the Charter of the City of Fostoria. You swore to faithfully, honestly, and impartially dispense these duties. Currently, the Charter is not being followed, resulting in financial questions and concerns on my part. I can only speak for myself, and I'm reaching out to you as the council to follow the charter rules and address these concerns. Thank you.
Jill, can I
Yes.
respond to the appropriations, specifically the financial appropriations? Those emergency appropriations actually come from Cindy, who's the appointed state auditor's office. So she's actually the one that prepares those, and that's based upon her need to move funds around. So it's not, it's not council requesting that, and she's moving within those line items.
Okay, my question though is in some of them, and if you look at all of them and you
Yeah.
read them in their contextual, some of them are ones that we as the cities of Fostoria, council people, knew that it was due for that year. So we should have been proactively saying, oh, this is on the agenda, we know we have to take care of it, and not wait until, oops, we forgot to follow up on it. So you might have your state auditor helping you to be following up, but we as people, we should be taking our own ownership and saying, oh yeah, we do this every year. We should be proactive, that's all I'm saying.
I understand. I mean, just for instance, tonight's, where we moved because it was in the wrong fund, and it came up Friday in discussion in our budget
Right.
meeting that this was, oops, it was in the wrong fund. And it was
Right.
Cindy that confirmed, oh, I put this in the wrong fund, so that was her correcting that.
Yeah, and I totally understand that. And hopefully in the future, now that we have such a
Yes.
good group starting, those kind of errors won't be occurring in the future.
I just wanted to
Yeah,
clarify.
thank you very much. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we will open up the public portion of the meeting to anybody else in the room that would like to address council. We're asking that you limit your remarks for 3 minutes.
Well, sorry about the pause, but good evening, everybody. First off, I want to say thank you to the city streets department coming out and changing the old signs, the old street signs. Some of them, especially ours on our corner, was very dull. You couldn't read it unless you was right there on it. So the new, nice, big, reflective ones are very nice. Nice to see the money being used in the right manners, and we need it. The other thing is the parks, the vandalism. I know there isn't money there for full cameras and constant viewing of the cameras, having somebody watch it. But there's a cheaper alternative that you can go out, you can get trail cams for anywhere from $45 to $100. Trail cam can go from anywhere from 24 hours, 48 hours. I'm sure if there's going to be vandalism, we're going to see it within the 48 hours. You pull the tape, you look at it. It's a cheaper way. It's something that can be hidden. They can be, camouflaged in anywhere. Or if you want them out so they see them, that's fine, whichever. But this is going to help curb some of the damage going on, some of the vandalism, and especially if the city gets to knowing that the ones doing it gets to knowing, hey, they're watching us now. I just think that's a cheaper way to go. Jackson Park, 2 cameras. You'd be able to get everything you need.
I believe we've had some success. Chief Wedge could correct me if I'm wrong, but we've lit up Jackson Park now with
lights,
2 lights,
yeah.
yes, and I believe that has curbed that a lot.
Yeah, it may.
Part of that's
but-
visibility, so then the neighbors
Right.
who
Right.
know if something's out of place, they can see that and then report it to the PD.
But, it's just it'd be a cheaper alternative to go along with
Yeah,
it
yeah,
to help.
absolutely.
And I just, I thought I'd bring that up to you. The other thing is it's just a constant, ongoing thing, question after question after question about the water. This water is not getting any better. Every time I've said it to different people, won't bring up names, they come to me, well, you got a well. Yes, I got a well. But I also go to the restaurants. I actually go to places in town and try to utilize my money there. And I can't get a coffee. I can't get a soda at a lot of restaurants. It tastes like dirt. And you can't even, some places you can't even get a pancake because they use the water. And guess what? You're eating dirt. It's what it tastes like. And I know everybody's always got, okay, we're doing this, we're doing that, but we're not seeing it, and we haven't been seeing it. And we just, instead of hearing it, we need to see. We need to see what's happening. And as the public, I'm in charge of one of the major Facebook pages in town, and I hear it all the time on there.
So if I may, just interject just briefly, had a discussion with Rob Shaver today. That was a topic that came up. One of the issues, so when it's leaving the plant currently, we're not getting taste and odor. So what I've actually called after that meeting is I'm having Amber Banger, which is our distribution department head, they're going to begin flushing tomorrow. And they're going to flush our dead end roads. We're going to actually draw down the towers, then refill. We're going to flush the system. Last fall when we flushed the system, it seemed to have taken care of that. One of the issues, it's multi-issues. Our reservoir is down 17 feet from normal. So the reservoir is low, and with that, with the colder temperatures, it's turning over more. Where the GAC filters haven't been replaced yet at the plant because we were waiting on parts for the vac truck. We now have the parts for the vac truck, however, because of vacation schedule next week, we're not gonna have the manpower for another week. So it is a bunch of issues, but Rob's assessment is if we begin flushing because we're not having the issues at the plant, as we push that water through the system, that should take care of it, hopefully going into the weekend and the beginning part of next week. It's a lot of work to flush all these lines, but that's to begin tomorrow morning.
Right. Well, and where I'm coming off here at this is, I've spoken to different ones at a couple of the restaurants in town that has said to me that we are down. We're down, we're not getting the customers in. And a lot of them's giving us the complaints and walking out because of it. Well, you know what? That's hurting our businesses in town. It's really hurting it
I
bad.
agree, and I don't think there's anybody that would disagree with that.
Right, and it's just, we just want to see some difference. And the final thing, if I could real quick, Mr. Logston, we had mentioned about East Fremont Street, the 200 and 300. And, we still haven't seen nothing. It's not an everyday occurrence. It's not an every hour occurrence on any particular day. It seems I'm the lucky one that has to go down there and jiggle around vehicles that's on both sides and makes it real hard to get the vehicles down. But, being as it ain't all the time, what time is there going to be an emergency down through there? And winter coming on, what time is there going to be a time a plow's got to get down there and can't do it? Somebody's car, they're not supposed to be parked on the street, but it gets sideswiped. Well, here comes litigation into the city. One-sided, there's so many streets in town, it's one-sided parking, and you advised the same thing as I had seen. There's a number of the houses, most of them's got off-street parking drive. They just don't utilize them because they don't have to. They can park in the street on the curb. So if we can, try to bump that in again, see if something can be done, because it would sure, for safety reasons, it would help out a lot. So I believe that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm a lifelong resident of Fostoria,
Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
and for the record, I would like
Can
to
you state your name and
exercise,
address for the record, please?
I would like to exercise my right to privacy and not give my name and address at this time. And the reason for this is because I like my constitutional rights.
This is a public meeting, sir.
You need to follow the council rules. And the council rules are that in order to speak, you need to
So I
state
have
your
to give up
name.
my Fourth Amendment right to privacy to speak to city council?
What's your name?
You don't
Good
have
citizen.
you don't have a constitutional right to
Mr.
speak
Good.
at city council.
I don't?
No, the public does not have a right to speak at council. The council allows the public to speak at council.
Well, why did those people get the right and I don't get the right?
Because they gave
They
their
give their
name and
name
address,
and
sir.
address.
So they have to give up their right to privacy to speak to
You
city
have-
council.
You have the courtesy to speak at council. We are affording you that privilege. It is not a right to speak at council.
So I'm not allowed to speak to city
You
council.
are if you adhere to the rules of giving us your name and your address.
You just took an oath to the Constitution, sir.
I did. And we're not violating the Constitution by asking you for your right, your name and your address. There's very few people who don't know who you are.
I know everybody in this room almost knows who I am.
I don't have a clue who you are.
Does my name really matter?
It does right now because you've made a point of it.
I've made a point of it because I want to exercise my right to privacy during a
Why?
city council meeting.
Why?
Just to do it.
That sounds silly.
Well, I'm sorry. Constitutional rights are silly to you.
I didn't say that, you did. Please introduce yourself.
I'm a lifelong resident of the city of Fostoria.
Sir, you need to say your name and address, or we're gonna ask you to leave. Because you're making a mockery of this body by persisting to do what you're doing.
So, am I going to be forced to leave if I do not give my name?
I would hope not, but that's a potential.
Then may I speak freely?
No, you may not. You need to give your name and address, and then you can say whatever you want. Yes, please.
Are you going to arrest me if I don't leave, sir?
Yes.
I'll leave.
Thank you.
And sir, thank you for coming, and you're more than welcome to come back anytime you want to adhere to the rules of the meeting.
I don't understand why the city thinks that their rules trump constitutional law.
Because our rules fit within the parameters of the Constitution inside these walls.
So inside these walls, I have to give up my right to privacy? I have
You
to identify myself
Have a good night,
as a
sir.
law-abiding citizen doing nothing wrong?
Have a good night, sir.
Yep.
Anyone else from the public wish to address council this evening?
Judge Rhonda Best, from right back behind you. I just wanted to give council an update of the things that we've been doing here at municipal court during my time in office. We have instituted a driving under suspension docket where I work one-on-one with folks that have had non-valid licenses for quite some time. So I've been meeting with them every month to work on those issues so that we can have more valid drivers on the streets of Fostoria, Tiffin, and the entire county. That's been working pretty well so far. I've worked with quite a few individuals, and they're working on, I had one gentleman that had 19 open suspensions. He said he hasn't had a valid driver's license in 27 years. So he was very grateful for that help, and he said no one had ever offered that help before. So I'm happy that we're doing that. I started to work with some folks that have littering charges and things like that, and having them do some community service around each city. So we've been working on that. Hopefully the kiosk that I was able to get the grant from the Supreme Court earlier this year to upgrade the probation system, that kiosk is supposed to be getting installed here in Fostoria soon. That will allow probation to have check-ins when they're not present in the building, so that way they can have more access and more communication with the Fostoria residents that are on probation. So we're working on getting that taken care of. And I wanted to let council know that for the first time in a few years, Pivot Drug Recovery Court is in municipal court. So for the rest of the year, it is being held in municipal court every Thursday, and everyone here is welcome to come and attend. The men start around 10:30 in the morning, and the women start at 1. So I am the judge presiding for the rest of the year for that. So we're very excited to have that. I just had a gentleman this morning ask me to be referred from Fostoria, and he said no one had provided him that assistance before, and he was really looking to change his life at this point. So he asked if I would do that. So I did. And we're hoping that he gets admitted and we can move forward with him as well. But thank you for your time. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wish to address council this evening? All right, we will move into business this evening. Seeing there's no old business, we'll go into new business.
Should we do the amendment?
President, I'm sorry.
You're gonna do the amendment?
Yes, would now be the proper time to add the resolution adding and amending ordinance number 2022-25, permanent 2023 appropriations by appropriating from the proper funds for the auto, or for the police car and for Res 4. Does somebody have the complete language in front of them?
Yep, I do now. I gave my first copy to Tammy.
Okay.
An
So
ordinance
can we add that to
adopting,
the agenda, please?
adopting and amending ordinance number 2022-75, permanent 2023 appropriations by appropriating from unappropriated funds in the general fund and stormwater fund and declaring an emergency.
So Mr. Manel has made a motion to add that to the agenda. Does anyone like to second that? We
I'll
have a
second.
second from Logsdon. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Manel?
Yes.
Cassidy?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Mendoza?
Yes.
Logsdon?
Yes.
That item has been added to the agenda. That'll be included in new business. Clerk, would you read the first piece of new business?
A resolution to support Senate Bill 119 and to act as proponent testimony by an interested party to the Ohio House Committee on Energy and Natural Resources and declaring an emergency to exist.
That is the first reading of that legislation. You read the next one?
If we waive the 3 reading rule, can we pass that tonight?
There's no
No,
quorum
we
to
don't.
pass
Okay.
anything this evening.
Ready? An ordinance adopting and amending ordinance number 2022-75, permanent 2023 appropriations by appropriating from unappropriated funds in the general fund and stormwater fund and declaring an emergency.
And that is the first reading of that. That concludes our new business. Is there any need to go into executive session?
I would move to go into executive session to discuss collective bargaining matters.
Second.
And there will be business to follow. So we do have a motion by Manel and a second by Mendoza. Clerk, would you call the roll for executive session?
Manel?
Yes.
Cassidy?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Mendoza?
Yes.
Logsdon?
Yes.
That motion carries. We will go into executive session at 6:39, and we will come out for business to follow.